Alec, why is the sky blue?
To match your beautiful eyes, dude.
Okay, so now that the pleasantries are out of the way, I'd like to welcome everyone back to this beautiful, glorious, unique, illustrious,
dank, nasty, sick, fuck, sexy as
bountiful, dank ass, pancake looking ass
waffle eating
episode.
Waffle eating in the alleyway behind the Denny's looking ass
episode of Time Traveling Bigfoot. I'm glad you guys could take some time out of your day to join us and come up to the campfire.
Always a fucking pleasure. Always a fucking pleasure to be back here, Jack.
Today, on this episode, we will be going over we're revisiting our home state. Apparently, our home state of West Virginia, it's got issues with the paranormal, and they need to be purged, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to rid these demons.
In the beautiful state of West Virginia, we seem to either A, have a bunch of random ass monsters running amok, or B, We're so bored here in the state of West Virginia that our imaginations just run wild.
Or the opioid addiction has been causing us to hallucinate so much to the effect that we are seeing these things. But that's not true, because I don't think we are addicted to opioids yet when we are seeing these things. We're back to West Virginia. Our previous cryptid monster here that we talked about was the Mothman, located in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This one is taking us to Flatwoods, West Virginia, to talk about and purge the appropriately named Flatwoods Monster, which resides in Flatwoods, West Virginia.
Which gets its name from having an extremely flat ass and fighting people with 2x4s.
The Flatwood Monster. I like it.
Hey, I don't make this shit up, guys. Actually, I did.
No,
I definitely made that up.
I like the expansion though on the lore. You know, I think this shit always has room to evolve, and I think if we make that part of its backstory, well, I was saying we're from West Virginia, so I think we're the appropriate authority to define its ass and if it's flat or thick.
We definitely have as much authority as pretty much anyone else, I'd say.
Viewer discretion, listener and viewer discretion is advised here, and if you're pregnant
or may become.
Or are susceptible to become pregnant. If basically any females, if anyone can even possibly become pregnant, you need to leave because your ovaries are at risk.
Someone who's been pregnant in the past, you also need to exit the building.
Yeah, because I'm not kidding when I say this is something else. Okay, guys. So talking about the original story of the Flatwood Monster, how the fuck did this thing become a thing? This is a relatively popular thing. Probably on the scale, it's toward the middle to lower end, but for the time, it blew up. How did it blow up? What was going on here? Let us take you back to Flatwoods, West Virginia, September 12th, 1952. So, essentially, and like I said, Alec, feel free to throw in whatever you discovered on this topic, but...
Okay.
These kids were chilling, tossing the pigskin as one does out on a football field. They were young children when they saw essentially what can only be described as a UFO crashing into a farm, a neighboring farm. Naturally, they shit their pants. And after figuring that whole situation out, figuring out the appropriate clothing to gather and then change into, they went to their mother, one of their moms, and this person's name was Miss May. And I think this Miss May here is a pretty important character in this whole story, because she was obviously the main adult of this whole thing that I'm about to lay down for all of you guys. And she was actually a voice on the whole Flatwoods Monster subject, to this day.
She became a subject matter expert.
Yeah, Miss May.
Yeah.
I'm not. She was a young woman. I believe she was a teacher at the time. Anyway, so her kids come running to her, saying that they just saw this thing crash, and she's probably thinking rational at this time. Oh shit, a plane or something. What? We got to go find this. And so she gathers up 3 more boys. One of them was an Army Reserve member, and he was about 17, so he was the second oldest and mature of the group. And they also grabbed a dog, and they go into these backwoods in West Virginia to discover something. And as we already know, when you go into the backwoods of West Virginia, you're gonna find something, whether that's Bigfoot, the Mothman,
someone growing moonshine, because you can do that. You can grow moonshine apparently.
Someone planting and cropping moonshine, but it's not really working out because they don't really understand what moonshine is, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah, popcorn.
Popcorn stuff.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Rest in peace.
So Miss May is leading this caravan of gay boys into the woods yonder to find out what the fuck is going on. Again, she's like obviously we all know that they're going to discover the Flatwood Monster, but at the time she's probably like, people might be hurt, whatever, let's go find them, let's go. Nothing really that unusual yet. Little interesting circumstances. So anyway, they're going off into this farm that this thing essentially crashed in. This is from the report of the boys. The dog allegedly caught the scent of something dank and mysterious, and it shot off into the woods.
The dog did.
Somebody needs to put that thing on a leash. Say what?
The dog shot into the forest, just to clarify.
Yeah. Miss May did not catch the scent of something and get on off and shoot ahead of the group, leaving all the children. This was the dog. I do not know the dog's name. It could have been Miss May as well. I'm getting confused myself. The dog shoots off. It was shook or something, and it ran off. And then it apparently came right back. Something like startled it even more, and it was scared with its tail between its legs. It did not like whatever it found enough to, its instincts. Animals are highly
instinctual.
Instinctual? Yeah, I don't know. But they have those.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, they're very instinctual, and they know when to run or whatever, and this thing ran. So it found something. So now these guys, if I were in this group, I'd be like, a little sketched out personally. I'd be like, okay, it's interesting, whatever. Let's keep going. Let's figure out what's going on here. They continue to go. The 17-year-old Army Reserve kid, I feel like his name, it was like Kyle Lemon or something. Sorry, Kyle. He had like the flashlight, so it was dark at the time. Also adding to a little spook factor here. He was the only one with like the flashlight, so he was like, looking around. Anyway, they eventually came to, and this story is an interesting one because I've never actually researched a story with so many conflicting reports. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that their anxiety was going through the roof, guys. They're scared out of their minds. They're in the forest at night. They're young kids, so who knows? So keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll give you, I'm kind of giving you guys both versions at the same time. One person apparently saw like a flaming object like pulsating, and that led them to then this next event. Some people don't even recall seeing this like flaming object. I don't know how one can see it and one doesn't. Probably it wasn't there, and this kid was like
tripping
on
balls.
The PCP, because that's what all the small children did back in the day. This is West Virginia. Anyway, the one consistent report across the board is after basically one apparently saw this flaming pulsating object, there were 2 bright circles that they basically came to the conclusion those were eyes, like appeared from behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Then this thing is described, and we will break down what this creature looks like, guys. If I saw this fucking thing, I would simultaneousing shit every pair of pants I own.
Dude, it sounds terrifying. It does.
Do you get that? Like, what the fuck? This thing, like, we're amping it up here, but like, and the artist renditions of it, it's just like, if this thing was like, if I saw this thing, I'd freak out. And that is what these guys did. Everyone freaked the fuck out. So they saw this creature that formerly became known as the Flatwoods Monster. Basically, Kyle was like,
for me, the Flatwoods Monster sounds the coolest, I think, of anything we've covered, monster-wise or cryptid-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It sounds like straight out of a comic book, but...
Yeah. So, basically, like I said, they're all in the woods looking for, like, the crash site of this thing. This creature appears in the darkness, and Kyle's like, oh, shit! He flies his flashlight right at it, and it basically reveals its, like, disturbing figure, which, again, we'll go into, but it essentially... It was reportedly it hissed at them and then glided toward them aggressively, at which point Kyle drops the flashlight and they all hightail it back to the goddamn coal mines.
The shitting of the pants intensified 10 times right there and then.
I mean, there was a shortage on trousers in 1952 because shit happens.
Because shit happens.
And essentially... they ran away from this creature. As I said, it glided to them, and then it apparently proceeded, like, after it, like, came at them, it, like, retreated, and then
it truly bitched out, guys.
Yeah, it folded real hard. Miss May with the children ran back to civilization out of the woods, and she proceeded to call the sheriff. That's real. Like, we can say, oh, they're saying they saw this shit, they did this shit. Something happened, and she legitimately called the police. And off of that note, I just want to talk about how it's like, can we talk about how Miss May's like a fucking snitch? Like,
yeah,
she didn't hesitate.
No, first thing is,
I want to put that out there.
First thing she does is just basically tell everyone their moms this thing's out there.
Anyway, I just thought that was worth noting that snitches do get stitches, and Miss May will get what's coming to her.
Yeah.
So that's the story, guys. Essentially, this blew up. People investigated. We'll get more into detail on that, but that is the initial reported story of the Flatwoods Monster, named Flatwoods. It's also known as, you guys might, if you ever research on this own, you might come up and find it as the Green Monster. Flatwoods, West Virginia actually has a sign that refers to it as the Green Monster. Yeah, and that's actually, because one of the reporting,
the signs, like you said, the sign's up there right as you come into town. So it's good tourist, it's good tourist trap. It's a good marketing tool too. I mean, if I saw that, if I was in town, I'd be incredibly intrigued if I didn't know what the Flatwoods Monster was. Actually, it's called what's it called? The Green Monster?
Like I said, on the sign, they refer to it as the Green Monster. And that would definitely spur interest. But it's just called that because Miss May actually referred to the creature as being green. And so that's kind of how that name came about, for the record. So that's what started this whole shebang. Let's break down what the fuck this thing looks like, because we have hyped it up.
It's time to break it down.
All right, guys. It's time to describe what this big bad bitch is looking like.
Oh my!
It was described as being around 10 feet tall, as they normally are. These cryptids are always gargantuan compared to humans.
Yeah, they're always big as fuck, and no one can ever find them.
Yeah. Within the eyes, there's like a orangish greenish glow to them, which is terrifying. It has small claw-like hands. I picture like this, like almost like maybe like a T-Rex almost. I'm not sure. And like I said, it has described as a face looking like the Ace of Spades, which we'll get into later on as to what people think rationally what this could have possibly been. But there is an animal that is similar in how it looks, with being like an Ace of Spades, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much the big baddie we're talking about. Unless you have a little extra flavor to add in, Jack.
Oh, brother, I always got some hot sauce in my bag, swag, to add on to a little bit of description.
All right.
Yeah, this thing's pretty wild. It's complicated. It doesn't fucking make sense anatomically to whatever exists on our world, so it's complicated to explain. From all the artist renditions that I saw, and there's actually an image, which of course we'll show in the YouTube video, subscribe, that shows Miss May with an artist's rendition of what she saw. So she's like approved, like, this is what I saw. And that's very obvious. So you guys, if you guys want to see like 100% what this thing looks like, check out our YouTube channel. But it's like you said, a very tall creature. It has a little human next to it for perspective. But as far as its face, it's like, it looks like a fucking like cartoon. Obviously, she only saw it for like 2 seconds. So, you know, give them a break on describing what this thing looks like. So we can only really describe its general features. But as you said, round face, 2 eyes, and then the most defining, consistent feature across the board that makes this cryptid unique as F is this, and it's like described as a hood. It's described as like a helmet or something. It's just described as a shape. And it's basically, if you guys know the Ace of Spades card, how it has a big spade in the middle, it's like that. It's like an upside down heart over its head. And I know this is weird and complicated.
Face is supposed to be red.
Right. Yeah.
Red.
And there were some reports saying that its face was like luminescent and pulsating as well. But again, that's a little inconsistent between people. However, like I said, all the people actually illustrated what they saw. And it was very consistent of a round face, 2 eyes, and a weird hood thing. And now... Again, I want to preface that when Alec talks about these claws, that came from Miss May, the adult. She's really the only one that talked about these claws. No one else can really remember seeing claws. And again, you have to like give them the benefit of the doubt that it was dark. It happened in seconds and people were like terrified. And the one kid was on PCP, like we said. So they weren't seeing shit. Like you were just seeing fucking shapes at that point. And anyway, she claimed to have seen claws as well as, and this is the weirdest part for me, is basically below the upper part of this creature was like drapes, like clothing like a skirt.
Yeah.
Again, this is Miss May. It was like literally like a dress. Like what? I don't even know. But that is what they said. Basically, again, that's where things get inconsistent between people. Below basically the neckline, it's like they don't really remember, or I don't know, but basically you'll see some artist renditions that'll have these like very like weird claws, like very skinny, like looks like robot arms, and then you'll see some without any arms and it'll just be a straight like rectangle with a head like moving around.
But yeah, that's the Flatwoods Monster. The thing about it is the fact that there really, with this cryptid, there really isn't as many, I guess, tales or stories of it really existing other than the original time. There's been a couple, but nothing that's like extremely credible. Unless you found some. I didn't find really any stories that really took place within the last like 20 years or anything.
No, I think it makes sense to like naturally conclude that this thing was like an alien. It crashed and then it got the fuck out.
Yep.
You know? And that makes more sense to me than some of these cryptids where it's like it disappears and then it shows up and then people see it nonstop for a year and now it's gone, whatever. Like, this makes more sense to me if I was just to be like rational.
No, I completely agree.
It bailed. It did not like what it saw on Earth when it saw those little boys. I gotta stop saying that.
You don't feel comfortable with that phrase?
I don't. The one I think it's an important little nugget I accidentally left out was when the group came upon this thing. They described like a mysterious like fog setting in or a mist. That's kind of how they described it.
That was pungent, right? It's supposed to be terrible smelling.
Yeah, it smelled really bad, and they literally had physical reactions to it, which was in the effect of coughing, sore throat, and one guy even started vomiting, like, and convulsing. And so that's an interesting little element to it. But obviously it's contributed to like the Flatwood Monster. Like,
you know, here, what do you think about our girl, Miss May, Jack? She seemed pretty suspicious. She got some ulterior motives going on.
I told you, dude. She's a snitch, and she can't be trusted.
Yeah. I'm just saying, we're here talking about the Flatwoods Monster, but are we talking about the right Flatwoods Monster?
Are you saying Miss May is the true Flatwoods Monster?
I'm not saying that. I'm just asking questions.
You insinuating?
You know? I'm just asking questions.
Alec and I have gone on record saying that we believe in aliens. I can't remember exactly what our rating was on that.
I fully believe. Like, I'm down to pound with aliens, dude.
Yeah, and that was like one of our first episodes. We talked about aliens. We believe in them. So obviously, if I think this is an alien, I think that there's probable reason that this shit could be real. You know, I believe in aliens. Is this particular instance an alien, though? Let's find out. So I wanted to go into like the evidence. Wait, what supports this? I thought it was really interesting, this physical reaction to this mist. That was very real, and like literal, there's actual medical reports on this stuff. The 17-year-old kid with the flashlight, he legitimately like was like projectile vomiting everywhere. It was a mess, and he was like literally convulsing. Like it like fucked him up. Wow. And the other people like across the board had sore noses, swollen throats, irritated lungs, and the medical observer, the doctor that was working on them, basically said that this is very reminiscent of mustard gas. Like this, it's like almost like a chemical weapon or something. So I think that's interesting. Like that, there's something
quick
tangible
interjection
there.
here. If I was in their position, I would be flipping out if I breathed in something that could possibly be from like some UFO. I'd be flipping out.
Biological weapons are like sketch.
Oh yeah,
that shit's like illegal for a reason. Mm-hmm. Chemical weapons and shit. But yeah, I'd be like, oh god, there's like an alien like
growing inside me, gonna burst in my chest, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd be very paranoid. I'd be sketched out. And you know what you just said is very true to all of us. All of us would feel that way, and that is exactly what those people thought was happening to them. Mm-hmm. And that is actually, you know, I'm going back and forth here. I'm saying that this could maybe support the whole thing, but this can also discredit it. Essentially, people say that this traumatic event and this level of hysteria that they were experiencing, because they basically were thinking like Earth was being invaded, like hide your kids, hide your wife. They were really sketched out, and that this physical reaction was a result of that height of like adrenaline, of fear, blah blah blah. Because it is those same symptoms line up with basically hysteria,
which is an interesting
freaking the fuck out.
Subject in general. And I have a question for you. I guess this is just leading off of that. What do you think? How do you think people would react? It just like finding out that there's aliens already here.
Bro, we already know how people react.
Yeah. We've seen people
War of the Worlds.
raid gas stations for water when there's a hurricane on the horizon.
Oh, God, yeah. Imagine a fucking alien, dude. It'd be real bad. And that's why the government hasn't told us about it. Mm-hmm. Because all the water would get stolen from gas stations.
New segment, guys.
It would upset the whole balance.
The tinfoil hat.
Dude, that'd be... we need to get some tinfoil hats for an episode.
Dude, you really do.
That? Let's go. We know what would happen, because when I say that, War of the Worlds, we all know it as a great 10 out of 10 Tom Cruise movie from like 2007 or something. Anyway, the movie was very interesting because it just depicted what happens during an alien invasion. Basically, we're fucked. We can't do anything because they have shields, and they just zap everyone and do whatever they want with us. It was awful. It was so scary. And like society crumbled. Now, what is that movie based off? It's based off of a book, which I believe was based off of... I can't remember what came first, but there was a famous radio broadcast that basically was a big old prank. And it was back in the day before we really had televisions. We didn't have Facebook. This was like the original fake news. Imagine you're huddled around your campfires. Everyone's smoking cigarettes because it's good for you at this time, and everyone's eating sticks of butter because we don't know that's bad too. And everything's in black and white, and we're just listening to our radio. And all of a sudden you hear on the radio,
"We now return you to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill."
Ladies and gentlemen, Marion. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks of the automobiles spreading everywhere. It's coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill.
People freaked out. People believed it. And the funniest little tidbit of this, people began to shoot water towers with guns because they thought they were flying saucers. This is real.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so to answer your question, what would happen? People would start shooting.
Each person that shot at this with water guns needed to be put down. That's all I gotta say.
Oh my God. Yeah, they were like putting holes in water towers. You know, if you guys look at water towers, you know, those are still a thing for sure. They look weird. Like, they look like alien-ish, you know. I could see a flying saucer being that.
Maybe in the night.
But yeah, it was crazy. It was kind of like pandemonium at the time. It's a very fascinating story, but it was just a very fragile time, you know. Information, when there's only one avenue of information or two, maybe like newspapers and the radio, you know, you're gonna believe it. And it was just a prank, and they had to tell everyone. Pretty crazy, but if aliens invaded, it'd be bad.
Yeah,
you know,
especially if like the U.S. government or like the world governments had no idea they were coming.
Yeah, and you know, our boy Stephen Hawking, rest in peace. He said it himself. It would essentially be Columbus coming over to the Americas, and he said, "We all know it didn't turn out well for the Indians."
Yeah, let's see.
Essentially,
let's see, Jack. We'll see how they handle the red, white, and blue. Here's the thing, though, with an alien attack, unless they're absolute like homicidal killing machines, I don't think they would just exterminate every living human being that they find. I mean, if they think of us as like squirrels, the equivalent of us being squirrels, it's not like we're going around and just murdering every single squirrel we see. So yeah,
but we're also.
So I think if you're hiding in your basement, there's probably really no reason for an alien to come searching for you.
As long as you don't get in their way.
Yeah.
But for instance, that squirrel is in a tree. I want that tree for its lumber. I just took your tree, and now you don't have the means to survive because I took your fucking tree.
Yeah. So with that being said, just don't climb any trees, guys, and you guys will be fine.
No, but our tree could be our ocean. What if the aliens want our ocean water for some reason? Now this is obviously a crazy. No, they can't have it. We need that.
Yes, they can. The Indian Ocean belongs to them now.
The ocean is important. Maybe we could live without it. I feel like we couldn't, because basically the ocean is what gives us rain, right? Shit like gets evaporated and then it comes back down, precipitation.
Yeah,
if we had no ocean, it would
need the ocean.
Yeah, it would disrupt the whole like rain cycle or whatever that's called. I forget what it's called, but we need that. But that's what I'm saying. You know, our home, our tree is Earth, and say they need a resource, they have nothing against us, but they're going to take it because they can, and they don't even understand like our own thought process because we're so unsophisticated in comparison. But I digress. We just got to make sure that we're the ones stealing their ocean first. You know what I'm saying?
That's actually, yeah. I'm all aboard.
I wanted to go into explaining rational phenomenon that could explain what happened tonight. On that night, September 12th, 1952, Flatwood, West Virginia. I want to explain like what could have happened. Obviously, we know what they think happened. We know what the media has turned it into and the internet has turned it into. We know the story today. But maybe what happened then? Let's just think rationally here. Let's take off the tin foil hats for a second. Put them back on after this. So I wanted to talk about that original bright light that crashed to the farm that the boys saw. Basically, that night was reported multiple places saw a meteor in places such as Pennsylvania, Maryland, and West Virginia. And based off of your location and where you are on Earth, that can look very much like something's crashing over the horizon. When in reality, it's just a meteor going, over the Earth's atmosphere, just like chilling, doing its thing. So that's like, maybe nothing ever even crashed at all. So if nothing crashed, what the fuck did we see? What did they see? That essentially can be broken down to, as Alex said, this shape and this behavior of this Flatwoods monster can be paralleled with a barn owl. They can get very large. They have very reflective eyes. They could hiss, and they could glide towards you aggressively if they wanted to. And they have freaky heads. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, honestly, if you didn't know that was like some sort of just normal creature, you saw that in the night.
I've never seen one.
Terrifying.
I've never seen one in real life, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe at the zoo somewhere, but like I've never seen one like in the wild. Like that shit, like a big ass bird. Birds, some people have like legitimate phobias of birds, and I get it. Like birds are sketchy.
My sister
especially
Kaylee, she's actually pretty afraid of birds.
Yeah. Bald eagle, God bless America, but that shit could like carve me up, like if it wanted to. Like its talons
I've
and
seen
its
some
beak.
shit on YouTube, guys, you wouldn't even believe. I've seen bald eagles take on fucking like black bears and shit.
Oh my god, that is epic.
Yeah, like they do not have any predators. Even like black bears, they don't care.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's incredible, those things. There's legit stories of like birds like carrying away children. Like what? Like they're crazy. I mean, the big ones again are just like these basically strong tanks that can fly and have knives on their feet. Like,
and they can swoop down and dive incredible speeds.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like you're toast. And anyway, my point is seeing these barn owls, they look very fictitious and alien on their own. And if one came at you, it would be very terrifying, especially in a very fast situation where you think you're already dealing with an alien. And again, this like weird like hood thing can fit kind of like the patterning or the shaping of a barn owl's head, because they have pretty unique heads. So that could kind of be explained there, which is kind of a parallel with a lot of these cryptids. Is like it's probably an animal that's doing something funky, and you kind of rationalize it in your head. And also how Miss May, goddamn Miss May,
goddamn her,
she said she saw these claws that could be kind of inferred as maybe a barn owl's talons, like grabbing onto the branch.
It's pretty funny. If it really was just a barn owl, these people like freak the fuck out for like no reason. And then like we're talking about it on a podcast because our fucking barn owl like scared some people in the dark.
Yeah, that barn owl was just like, that was weird. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
No, that some kid was like vomiting uncontrollably because he saw an owl in the woods. Poor bastard. Again, this is a potential explanation, guys. Probably what happened. It depends, what you want to believe in. I believe in aliens. It could have been an alien. I also believe in barn owls. It could have been a barn owl.
It could have been an alien barn owl.
Shit,
no one's exploring that possibility. What if the barn owl fucking flew its ass down here, not with its wings, but in a spaceship?
So I like to talk about it today. Where are we at today with this thing? Well, today we're making a podcast about it. Mm-hmm. The Flatwoods Monster has been inspiration for multiple characters in video games. It was actually a popular, I believe it was an enemy in Majora's Mask. It's actually inspired a character on Adventure Time. All of these characters basically, they all have the weird shape for the hood, and then they have like a very simplistic head, and then they have like a robe as the bottom, because as we said, Miss May said it kind of had like a flowing skirt to it. So that's interesting for a creature that happened in 1952. It's relevant. People are still picking up on it today. There is a museum dedicated to the creature in Flatwoods, West Virginia today. You can still check it out. And there used to be a festival celebrating it up to 2006, but I guess they don't do it anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
And so, everything I just said has a lot of parallels to another beloved cryptid in West Virginia, known as the Mothman. And I know that this was a point of contention for you, Alec.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I was a little bit weary about doing an episode on Flatwoods Monster because of how similar it is to the myth of, or the legend of the Mothman. Both cryptids
Flatwoods
from
Monster
West
happened
Virginia.
first,
What is that?
for the record. Flatwoods Monster happened first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it happened about 10 years
I guess that
prior.
makes sense. Yeah, because, I mean, actually a good bit, like 30 years, right? Before? Close to it?
No, I have to open my notes, but I believe Mothman was in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think.
So maybe not that much, but yes.
Anyway.
They're both very similar, both from West Virginia, both about the same height, both winged creatures. So, well, probably winged creatures. It's probably a barn owl. So,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Mothman, it was said to be a crane or a barn owl. So I don't want to bum all the true believers out there out, but there's parallels. There's stuff going on. It's worth mentioning if we want to really talk about this thing.
Another interesting topic is listeners out there. It'd be interesting to know, like, of all the people that listen to our show and everything like that, and if you guys want to let us know, that'd be great. But I wonder how many people listen to our show as if they lean more towards the skeptic side or they lean more towards the believer side. It'd be really interesting to know. So maybe we'll get like a poll out there or something.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I think we both can agree that we want the Flatwoods Monster to be real.
I want that flat ass to exist. So with that said, I believe, is it time for probability of reality, Alec?
Oh, you know it is.
Probability of reality.
Okay, I'll start out with mine.
Okay.
We kind of broke down how we feel about this guy already. As I'm sure everyone knows, we used a scale of -3 to 7. This kind of scale has been recognized as probably the most accurate way to kind of distinguish what we believe is real and what isn't. By the
Yeah, we
scientific
actually got a letter from the National Geographic magazine, not the TV program, the magazine, saying that our way of, I guess,
our
scoring
system,
the ability for it to be real is one of the best ways that they've ever seen. They said, and I quote, "That's dope, bruh."
Yeah, and saying just my point is the -3 to 7 scale is superior to the 1 to 5 scale, to the 5-star scale, to the 1 to 10. Fuck all that. Stick with the -3 to 7.
And the reason we came up with it in the beginning is because we're both Capricorns.
I just puked in my mouth. I'm gonna give the Flatwoods Monster a -1.
Ooh, okay.
Which, yeah, that might surprise you. You're probably not feeling it, and this is based on aliens, man. Aliens. That shit exists. If that's what this thing could be, then it deserves some, possibility of existing. It's a pretty peculiar alien story. For being an alien, it was very much on the defense here, but whatever. I'm giving this guy a -1. In West Virginia is just a fucking hotbed maybe for this kind of stuff. Yeah, a -1 isn't high too. So what are you feeling?
I'm pretty sure I gave, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I gave Mothman a -1.
Yeah, it sounds
So
right.
I'm going to say that it's just a little bit less believable. Even though I believe in aliens, there's just not as many accounts, and there's just a lot of controversy with this, the original account. So a lot of going back, wishy-washy. So I'm going to give it a -2. I'm not going to say it's a -3 where it's complete dog shit, but I'm going to say that there's probably a good chance that it was probably just a creature and they were just terrified children. Now, I will say I do believe in barn owls, though. And water
give that
towers.
a 7?
Yeah, I'm going to give a 7 to the water towers, a 6 to the barn owls.
That is fair. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that wraps it up, unless you have any closing remarks, Alec, on the
Wraps it like
Flatwoods
a mommy,
Monster.
dude. I feel like this is another great episode of Time Traveling Bigfoot. But by this point, we're probably 4 episodes into our YouTube channel. So go out there, subscribe, and make sure to check out our other social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. which you can just check the show notes for those links. All right, guys, take care. Peace and out.